Well, what's up everyone? So today we are going to be tackling the south node of the moon Ketu in the 6th house. And what happens when this planet, this shadow planet, is in your birth chart in your 6th house? Well, first of all, what is 6th house? 6th house is basically the house of obstacles. Things that are in front of you as an obstacle is 6th house, which is what? It signifies enemies, people who are there to stop you from achieving something. It represents debts and diseases. It represents, because debts and diseases are obstacles. They prevent you from doing something. And it's a house of small animals, small pets. It's a house of servants, house of not lower class, but just unprivileged people, you know. And the 6th house is again house of debts, but more so also of the loans. Okay, so you bring the south node Ketu here, which is what? Isolation, spirituality, separation of material wealth from the spiritual wealth. It's about looking at something as a whole and defining yourself after you do that. Ketu is your past life, things that you have already achieved. Okay, so here what shows is that this person, first of all, is here to improve upon thyself. They are one of those self-starter people. They are one of those people who work on self-improvement. Because the shadow planet Ketu is the reflection of Mars. Like things we have achieved, things we have, conquered. Where Mars is like, I'm going to achieve those things. So here, through working with the social class, working in social environment, you improve yourself. So this placement can be confusing, but if you tackle it in a different way, you can see what I'm talking about. So here, what happens is these people become social workers. They love serving humanity, serving other people without any gain, without wanting to have any gains out of the situation, without wanting to have some sort of a judgment towards what they're doing. They just do it because you know how Ketu is like, I already achieved these things, fine, I'll do it. It's nothing that I really care about, I'm not obsessed about, because what I'm obsessed about is that finding that privilegedness in the 12th house, because Rahu is there. So here, what it shows, somebody who just works, like an obedient person who just works, but doesn't necessarily care what is coming out of what they're doing. Not only this can represent somebody who works, helping other people, fighting for other people's right, because 6th house is what? Litigation, fighting for other people, fighting for yourself. So these people tend to fight for other people, but then again, Rahu is a headless body. It doesn't judge. So the environment that this planet is in, it's going to behave that way. So because Rahu is in the 6th house of everyday life and enemies, this can also signify a criminal. Somebody who could be a serial killer, serial rapist, who can be just like a drug cartel, who murders people, like a gang affiliation. Because when these people act, they act without thinking. And in the 6th house of enemies, when they go after their enemies, they do not think. They do not want to think what they're doing. They're taking a life away. They're like, no, my mission is to destroy you, and that's what I'm going to do. So this can go both ways. This can create a politician or a social worker, or people like who are doctors in third world countries who are helping other people. Or this can create somebody who's like Richard Kulinsky, the ICEMAN, who killed like over 200 people, and he had nothing against them. He said, it was this businessman. He didn't pay me. He didn't give me money on time. All right, I'm just going to kill him. That's it. So he didn't think. The Ketu did not allow him to think. He just did it. So like loan shark, what Kulinsky was, he went out, collected debt, and it doesn't matter what how the debt was collected, he just collected it. He had no judgment towards it. He's like, oh, you have 2 kids and a wife and you're struggling and you cannot pay me. Okay, that's fine. I'll give you another month. No, he was like, okay, so you haven't paid me the debt. It's overdue by 2 days. All right, bam. That's what happened. But obviously the support system from other planet has to be there. The moon has to be involved and Mercury has to be involved, because your mind, the moon, and Mercury, the intelligence, has to, lay that foundation for Ketu to act upon it. So this can not only signify like a loan shark or a social worker, also somebody in the medical field, because it represents what diseases. And it can also, see, remember, here's the thing about Ketu and Rahu. They can represent all sorts of careers. You got to see what sign they're sitting in and what conjunction or aspect they're receiving. Because remember, when they're in conjunction with some planet or the sign that they're sitting in, they become that planet. So if Ketu is sitting in the sun or sitting with sun itself in the 6th house, it can show somebody who is either in the marketing business, so show somebody who's in the medical field, or show somebody who's in the political field, where Ketu's most likely will go against those things. It wants isolation. So in 6th house, you really have to see, and this is not, it's a very, determined place for Ketu, but Ketu doesn't feel comfortable here. Ketu feels like, no, this is not, I'm stuck here dealing with obstacles, dealing with litigations, dealing with social issues, and yes, I'm automatically doing it, but where I need to be is I need to be in the 12th house. So this is where the Rahu support system comes. Rahu's like, okay, you do your thing and I'll do mine. I'll be obsessive about the 12th house things. I'll be obsessive about the foreign lands, isolation, people of, of spiritual group, people who are a bit eccentric, So, and Rahu is what? Rahu is that obsessive malefic energy. And if you watch my Rahu in the 12th house video, it can land people into jail. It can, take you into asylum, because Ketu in the 6th house of diseases can also create mental diseases, psychosis. But you see how Ketu and Rahu in the 6th and 12th house becomes either one of those good things or becomes one of those bad things. It can create a philosopher or it can create a killer. It can create a doctor or it can create somebody who inflicts pain. You just have to see what is happening with Ketu, who's looking at him, who's sitting with him. So this is what Ketu really is. But then from the 6th house, Ketu aspects the 10th house, the 12th house, and the 2nd house. So let's discuss what that is. So when from the 6th house, when Ketu aspects the 10th house of career, again, it can signify the things that I told you. Social worker, somebody who works with animals, especially dogs, because Ketu is a representation of dogs in astrology. And so they can work with dogs, they can become a veterinarian, they can go into just social services, or because the 10th house of career, their career is what? Could be criminal. But don't just think that, oh, I have Ketu and I'm not a criminal. Like I said, there has to be other planetary support there in order to see what exactly is happening. 12th house needs to be judged. The ascendant needs to be judged. Where is the ascendant place? If the ascendant is with Ketu in the 6th house, that can indicate somebody who's involved in some criminal activity, especially if it's Saturn with Ketu in there. So you have to look at all these things, but then what Ketu really is just you do your service, you give your energy to the people of lower class, and you don't expect anything. So your career becomes that too. You work, yet you don't care if you're achieving something from it not. You just want to do the work the best way possible. Because Ketu is without head. When you tell him to work, he'll work. He'll run the machine. Without the brain saying that, hey man, you didn't receive any promotions, you didn't receive any bonuses, what's going on? But obviously people will do that because there are other planets involved in this paradigm of Ketu. And then Ketu looks at the 12th house of enlightenment, of spirituality, foreign lands, isolated places, ashrams, jails, hospitals. And so Ketu, like I said, becomes kind of uncomfortable because it has already achieved these things, and his goal is to achieve those foreign things. But Rahu is doing that job. So Ketu is uncomfortable, yet Rahu is there. So these people are those people who are working every day, doing their thing, yet their mind is somewhere else. Their mind, they're like, okay, I need to get away from this. I need to find myself. I need to find that ultimate thing that will take me away from what I'm doing. And then later on in life, they achieve that because Rahu's goal is to achieve what he set out to do in that house. Then Ketu looks at the second house and also about the 12th house with Ketu and Rahu. It can also show addiction. It can show drug addiction, alcohol addiction, prostitution addiction, pretty much any kind of addiction, addictiveness with Ketu and Rahu in this house. Indulgence of substance. Why? Because Ketu from the 6th house aspects the 2nd house of intake of food, intake of something, because it represents the throat. It represents your speech, your family. So here Ketu can early on separate you from your family. You can live away from your family after 24, 25, or it can give you a very unusual family. Like you feel like, my family is not like other people's family. It's just not. And the indulgence of food, again, Ketu in the 6th house. Remember, Ketu gives that mysterious diseases if you watch Ketu in medical astrology video. So in 6th house, because of your indulgence and your addiction, it'll give you diseases that the doctor won't be able to figure out. Or you will get parasites because of what you're eating. You will, get intestinal problems, because 6th house is also intestine. So unusual intestinal problems it can create in the 6th house if it's not well placed. Okay, but in the 2nd house with the family could be quite spiritual because of Ketu's nature in the 6th house. Family could be a public servant family, meaning that you can come from a family that could be known for helping the needy, helping the unprivileged, and because of that you learned to help the unprivileged. Kind of like a political family, like the father was a governor of this Massachusetts and he was serving the people, then his son becomes a governor of this state, then he serves people. So it becomes that into political family or social service family. All right, so guys, this was my analysis of Ketu in the 6th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe above, and if you want to know where your Ketu is placed and where your obsession is and isolation is, check out the link below. Check out my book there, Astrology at the Speed of Light. And when you get the book, I will send you the link to look at your own chart. Otherwise, see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.